come from a life sciences industry.
Please, if you can take mic further here, yeah.
I come from a life sciences industry. Unlike manufacturing, what we have just heard, you can hear from the utility segment as well. Ours is a little different. So we run several equipments, or rather instruments, inside our framework. And some of the frameworks or the instruments that we actually use, they produce quite a significant amount of data. The ingestion process goes and impacts in the chain, the entire supply chain, multiple areas. Unfortunately, a lot of these instruments, they have different types of data, different formats of the data varies, right? We also have a lot of compliance and regulatory implications inside our organization. So yes, we are consuming instrument data, to say the least. We use tools also which actually translate that into a common format. So there is a particular technology which we use. We have a sister concern called TCG Digital, and we have a data analytics tool over there. That tool basically ingests the data that we actually produce and provides certain analytics based on that. Now, we have a division called analytical. Now, what happens from devices like NMR, UPLC machines and stuff like that, HPLCs, this is where we try to extract the data, right? These basically the molecules that we work on, the compounds that we are working on. These things, when it goes to an analytical department, that's where all these instruments belongs, you study the results of the compound, the reactions of the compound, based on the peaks and the yield percentage, right? Now, obviously, with those parameters, a lot of significant amount of data that gets generated when it goes to UPLC, HPLC, or even in an NMR, right? Now, you link that with the output that you have, right? So, there's a tool called TerraScience where basically takes a different format of data, once it ingests it and then translates it into a single format, which then goes into it. There is a LIMS tool also, which is known as Lab Information Management Tools, and we also have an MES tools. So various types of tool that I talk about sort of takes in various types of inputs and gives and sort of throws various types of outputs, which again is required completely from a scientific point of view. So, unlike the rest of the peers sitting over in the podium, our requirement of data ingestion from the IoT devices directly gets linked to the scientific discovery process. And a very critical element is over there. That element is known as CFR 21 Part 11. And what it means by that, it is required by FDA. So that means what I do with this data is create traceability metrics. So when you consume simple stuff like Proceed, Calpol, right? You have like Calpol, which have, let's say, 650 milligrams of paracetamol, right? If you take that and you put it into a measuring scale, I can guarantee it will not be 650 milligrams, it will be a lot more than that, right? Now, you also see something in a medicine called batch number. Now, what's that for? And half of the people, we just don't seem to understand, and you keep seeing that the guy in the compounder who writes the prescriptions to you, or the sells the medicine to you, writes a batch number. So batch number is the way I can actually trace the med right to the raw material supplier. And we fall in that line, right? Because we are the one who actually doing the drug discovery process. So any of these elements that we design, or we extract, even the machines that we use, this is where the IoT data comes into play, that creates the traceability matrix to assure in the discovery process and the supply chain process, I can assure the safety and the sanctity of the medicine that ultimately is produced by a big pharma. That's basically where our IoT application comes in.
Wonderful, Abhijit. So now I have a next question, like what factors matter most when selected IoT technologies or partners? So I will again start with Abhijit. I think we will take 1 minute for explaining the response. That's great. Thank you.
So I think I've explained some of it already to you. One of the first things that we look at very quickly is CFR Part 2111. That is very, very critical. We also look at EU GMP compliance. So any vendors that we deal with, anything that we do, must touch upon that before you sort of feed into your MES or the LIMS system. So that's very critical. We have plans to ingest it into SAP at some point of time. Now, one other really important thing when you are choosing a partner or a product is basically setting the boundaries between OT and IT. Both have different control sets. For those who want to dabble in it, you can look at IEC 62443 norms, which basically defines the protocols and the standards. You can set up practical, this is very, very critical because if you're doing connectivity between IT and OT, setting conduits and guardrails is very critical. So do segmentations and zones. We follow a list privilege access matrix through which we can sort of quantify and define who gets to access what and how. You can also look at, and we are also looking into it ourselves, which is known as basically zero client endpoints. And by what I mean by that, they're basically no storage and no OS, right? Now this basically guarantees one-on-one air-gapped access between your IT to OT and vice versa. And very important thing also you need to remember that if your connectivity is one-way traffic, so there will be no inbound traffic inside the OT system, and that secures the OT system to a large extent because security and patch availability is still quite limited in the OT systems like PLC and the bioreactors or the HPLC, UPLC that we have. One of the other things you must probably consider is over-the-air update. So that's basically sort of helps you not get involved in the machine directly and you don't have to get into it. And the last part I will talk about is interoperability of the devices. One of the things which we have looked into the machines that we sort of handle is it's basically a protocol. It's OPC UA protocol, and we do. This is basically required for the connectivity layers the layers of connectivity that you are trying to establish with your LIMS or the MES system. And that's pretty much it. And just look into the SLAs that you are working with the partners. That's also will define the guardrails.